it's really a twofold background for this discussion. I'm very happy that you started with this ranking, because I intended to say right from the beginning that there are two really levels. One is the crisis in the Israeli academia and the higher education in Israel, and the virtual one, which is based on this popular, more or less popular ranking and tables of ranking which are being distributed once for a while. And if you study this ranking system deeply, you will understand that first of all, there is no chance for most of the universities in the world to be included in one of the, let's say, 500, because most of the components are, sometimes it's ridiculous, the components, numbers of Nobel Prize at your university. I don't know how many universities in Europe have the Nobel Prize, and how many universities at the whole United States have Nobel Prize laureates. So the problem is really not the ranking. The ranking is very popular, and sometimes it has some impact on this making decisions of the politicians or students or some other people. But really, in reality, the situation is quite different, and you mentioned it very well, because it doesn't take into consideration the variety of disciplines. Just for an example, 22 of 24 journals which are being indicated in this Chinese ranking are all deals with nature, life sciences, engineering. There are no social sciences, no humanities, and no arts and things like that. So let's put aside these tables of ranking, and maybe one more fact which is really relevant to the Israeli situation is, after all, now I'm talking to the Israeli audience here, and just to be relaxed on this point of view, that after all, and even Jerusalem went down a little bit this year, still, in the first 500 universities in the world, still there are the whole 7 universities in Israel, the whole 7 institutions of higher education in Israel are included in the first 500 out of a couple of thousands of universities which are being ranked. So the situation is not so bad as it being reflected in this ranking, and this title of the discussion, the Ivy League or the international level, is really a very relative question, and we have to concentrate more and more on the Israeli agenda and the Israeli problem. Because in reality, and in everyday life, and Professor Ben-Sasson mentioned it right from the beginning, we are in a deep crisis in the situation of the higher education in Israel, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to take into consideration that we have a huge challenges in front of us if we would like to keep the level of the Israeli science and the Israeli academia of nowadays, and if we would like to be regarded as one of the best academias in the world in the coming future. The crisis is due to a variety of reasons. I'm not going to take too much time in discussing the historical development of that, but let's remember that 15 years ago, there were about 50% less students in the system that we have now. So we have now about 280,000 students in the whole academic higher education institution in Israel. Only 50% of them were about 15 years ago. There are a huge number of institutions, 66, according to the last publication, 66 institutions of higher education in Israel, 7 universities or research universities, and the rest are colleges, regional, private, and so on and so forth. The appearance of the colleges, the creation, or let's say raising the flag of accessibility to higher education was the main flag that was raised in the last decade by the Council of Higher Education and the PBC, the Planning and Budgeting Committee, which Professor Trachtenberg is now the head of that. And in the last 15 years, things went into a chaos in this system, and in this mixture of universities, colleges, and every college strives to be a university, and there are even some private institutions, which I will not mention here by name, but they believe that there are even better universities or better universities than most of the universities in Israel, because they don't put off the light at 4 o'clock at the universities, if you remember this quotation. So in practice, we do have a deep crisis. The dramatic cut in the budget of the higher education in Israel in the last 5-6 years, or before let's say in the last decade, about net 20% of the budget, net 20% of the budget was cut. And let's just imagine such a cut in any other public institutions or public service in Israel, in the security system, the police, hospital, wealth, health, education, take any kind, or in the municipalities, net 20% less are, it's really something that no system can survive. Just imagine that from tomorrow morning, in 2 or 3 years, 20% will be cut off the police budget, or from the hospitals budget. People will die. In higher education, nobody dies. Nobody feels it. Will die in the future somehow. There will be some death in spatial components of the higher education system in Israel, but nobody feels it in everyday life. So why don't cut anymore? And one more remark before I'm about to suggest some ideas about the future, is that we always were looking westward and looking at Europe and more toward the US. And Ivy League was mentioned here. So I always say that while comparing us to the United States, we are doing a lot of mistakes in our perception of the situation. We are not United States. We don't have 2 oceans on our sides. We scarcely have the Sea of Galilee and the polluted Mediterranean. We don't have aircraft carriers. We don't have 300 million population. We are Israel. So let's think in Israeli terms. And on one more, the system in Israel is almost totally public system. Private institutions and private policy is not so popular as in the state. And some of the ideas and principles which guide the system, the academia system in Israel, is really bent to political, local, regional, and some other considerations. So don't try to take the benchmark of the United States. Even not some European countries, even though Europe is more, let's say, closer to the, or Israel is closer to the perception of the academia in Europe. In public system, you can't control, first of all, you don't control what you're doing in the States, of course, the tuition fee, for example. It is regulated by the government, which is bent to the pressure of the students. 280,000 students demonstrating in the streets are more important than some professors who are striving for a new lab, of course. So you don't control the tuition fee. You don't control the salaries. As the president of the university, you have nothing to say. You can negotiate about it. But the real negotiator is the Treasury. So everything is going to the Treasury. Everything is going to the public decision making. And this is why I think that there are 3 levels in which we have to work very hard in the future in order to, first of all, to preserve our situation in comparing us to other academias in the world, and secondly, to march toward a better future in our situation. And first and foremost is to create some other atmosphere among the decision makers, among politicians, and among the public itself, which I think the idea of academia, or the image of professors and academia in Israel took a lot of damages in the last decades due to some other processes which are not mentioned here. We have to convince and we have to work on the mind of the decision makers that without excel and achievements and giving the academia to lead everything in Israel, there is a real risk to the very existence of the state of Israel. There is nothing more important, more than tanks and aircrafts and some other outer or other factor in the everyday life in Israel than the research and teaching in academia. Take every field in our life and you'll find the achievements of academia with its impacts on that. In education, in public service, in security, in technology, everything is coming back to the achievements of Israeli academia. Think about it. And if you if you get this idea and you understand it, you understand that academia should be sometimes more important than investing in defense, in security, and some other thing. I know that it sounds a bit extreme, but this is reality. Without that, depressing academia, cutting academia, will lead to a dramatic misadvantage in the state, in the situation of the state of Israel at all. So that must be, I would say, the first challenge of the leaders of the higher education in Israel. And I'm looking right now, because I know this is the man who is going to do it in the future. First and foremost, the government should recognize and make a political decision that academia is let's say, almost a precondition to the very existence of the state of Israel. And then get to the money or get to the budget and to other. Don't fight for another milliard shekel, because you are going to waste it and to throw money after money without changing the situation itself, without changing the quality of the system itself. I would even dare saying that having back this 20% into your pockets will make no change in the quality and in the development of higher education without other reformations and policy that you will have to adopt in the future. So the second condition and the second step should be, as Professor Ben-Sasson said, the responsibility of the leaders of the higher education to rethink academia in Israel and to think what happened after these 15 years of the chaos of universities and colleges and private institutions and everything. You'll have to make decisions between universities, research universities, and colleges. And there will be 60 colleges or 61, that doesn't matter. It will be matter if 90% of the money of the PBC will go to research and to infrastructure in academia, means mainly in universities, or to raise one more the flag of accessibility. Accessibility is very popular. Accessibility is very cheap. Accessibility is very popular among politicians from every place and region in Israel. Yeah, I know it sounds very problematic because it's going to politics. So the third circle will be, or the second one, should be taken among these people of the Council of Higher Education and the PBC. What is the nature of the system? Research, teaching, the balance, the allocation, and the division of the missions of each system. And the third is among us, the academic faculty. There is a lot to do inside our system, and we have to admit it, that there are a lot of misadvantages in the system of the Israeli academia due to achievements of the unions, due to achievements of the unions of the professors, and there is almost impossible to do any change, any real change in the structure, in priorities, in differential policy toward developing this field or that field, or recruiting this scientist or that scientist, or to concentrate on this center of excellence or on the other. And some change should be done among us. So there are the level of the government and the level of the people who are responsible for the planning of higher education. Professor Trachtenberg, let me tell it in Hebrew. There are two letters in the committee that you are the chairman. Tichnun, planning, and Tiktsuv, budgeting. Budgeting is very, I wouldn't say very, but it's quite simple. Because budgeting is just to allocate, and you will allocate. I hope that you are going to change the models and to change things that will be more encouragement for other institutions to go for a better future for them. But allocating is a system. You have models of allocation, it's okay. But planning, the P of planning, we missed this P in the last 15 years. And this is why we are at loss sometimes while questioning ourselves why there is this a feeling of walking back in the status of academia and the higher education system in Israel. So the government, the leaders of or let's say the regulators, and we, the professors have to do a mutual work in order to better the higher education system in Israel toward a better future. Thank you.